We're on. Oh, chair is breaking. Must be gaining weight. Okay. So I'll just wait a moment here, catch up with some things, and we need to get some people on here too. We need to decide on how many people we need before we start. I say 100. I don't know if that's possible because it's 4 a.m. in Finland, so it's really nighttime in Europe. So we won't have Europeans on. We'll only have Americans and Asians, I guess. Well, we got North America, South America, Asia, Australia. No, 50. I'm not gonna do 50. 100. 101. I like that number. So you better share this video. It's gonna be good. We're gonna talk about DNC. We're gonna talk about all the stuff that happened there. I'm gonna leave out some bits about talking about specific drivers and cars, you know, except Mugen. I'm gonna talk about that. I have a point that's relevant to JQ Racing. Oh, Juha Aroma is here. He must be out drinking. It's Friday. So I'll leave talking about other drivers and their cars and that kind of stuff for the podcast. We're gonna record the No Name RC podcast with Keenan, and it will be up within, I would say, within 36 hours. So I'll leave that talk for then. This Facebook Live, I will talk about other stuff too, like the Mugen I mentioned there, but it's all sort of relevant to JQ Racing. This is my Facebook Live, so we need to talk about JQ Racing. The podcast, it's more universal. It's about everything else than JQ Racing, so we'll do it that way. Yeah, 81 people, so just keep on sharing. Share the video, let people know, and then I'll start. I'm actually working on the guide. Yeah, the setup guide. I got some inspiration. I don't know why, but I just had some ideas I wanted to write down. So I'm just gonna write these down. And you need to reach 100 people. So save your questions. I won't be reading them. Save your questions. I have some things I'm gonna cover, and then I'll ask for questions, and you can type your questions and I'll answer them. So this, the setup guide, this work is funded by my Patreon, just like we started the No Name RC podcast, thanks to Patreon support. I'm also doing this guide, and you won't believe how much material I have. So, let's see here. Where's the word count? Okay, so I have 35,000 words. I don't know if you've ever written anything and you kind of understand word count in a document, but 35,000 words, that's a lot. That's a lot of text. So I basically just copy pasted all the material I have into one document, and I wrote some more stuff, and right now I'm writing something I had on my mind. It's 62 pages, 62 A4 pages of text about 8-scale buggy racing. So preparation, building, maintaining, practicing, racing, testing, and setup. So that's crazy. But now, shit, I wanted to finish this, but we're at 99 people. If you write 35,000 word manuscript, your formatted book will likely be around 140 pages. I don't know how many pages, but it's gonna be less than this. I mean, I'm gonna cut down the stuff that isn't really super relevant, and I'm gonna make my points more clear and concise. See, so you fools don't need to read so much. And actually, for the whole guide thing, I think all this stuff that I write is good and valuable, but I think even more valuable would be the videos that we could make. And videos are so much easier to understand. So if I write a section on, for example, Ackerman, and I'm explaining the different steering systems and how you can change the steering of the car, there's only so much you can do with text. But if I could then show a video of a corner on the track and maybe even overlay 2 videos, so one the car doing the corner with one setting and then the car doing the corner with another setting. So that is something I would like to do, and I think it would illustrate much better to you the difference on track that the setup changes make. But that's, again, that takes time and effort, a lot of work. Someone needs to do the filming, someone needs to edit it. So unless I get enough supporters on Patreon, I'm not going to do it. Right now I have enough to write the guide, and that's it. If you just want text, that's what you're going to get. If we get more people to support on Patreon, which you can, the minimum amount is $1 a month. If we get enough people on there, then we'll do illustrations. If we get enough for videos, we'll do videos. I hope during the course of this year, we'll have enough support where I can do the full complete guide that I want. The app is looking pretty unlikely at this point, because to do an app properly will cost quite a lot of money, and yeah, just not able to do that. Jeff is just jealous. Okay, so I guess I'll have to write this after the Facebook Live because there are so many people on here already. So we're gonna have to start talking about DNC. So where should I start? Where should I start? Let's see. Okay, so the DNC, it was at a new facility this time, and not only that, they couldn't even build the track where they were originally going to because of the rain. And I think that's actually good because I like where the track was now, and it wasn't too big either. So I don't think it was negative at all that they had to move the track to a different area. Lefty and Mike Hill drove from North Carolina to California. They arrived a few days early, as did I, and we went to Palm Desert for some practice first, and then the new track, Wild West RC, or whatever it's called there in Paris. And preparations were good, so we were well prepared for the race. And I'll tell you just quickly what happened to me during this race. So first practice, nitro buggy. I go out there and my car is pretty good. It was really good in practice before, so it was kind of as expected. But the track was so soft that I knew it was gonna get bumpy, so I didn't really know what to expect. So the first practice didn't really mean that much to me. But halfway through the first 6-minute practice, I crashed and I ended up in another lane, and someone hit me and broke my whole main needle off. And that's basically how my week went in nitro. So my main needle broke off and I had to change that. So I was looking at it and thinking, okay, should I change the whole carb or just the main needle? And the thing was that the engine had been running really well, so I thought, okay, I'm just gonna change the main needle on this carb. And I went ahead and I sealed the whole carb to the engine, and I sealed the screw and those 2 collets that kind of tightened the carb in, because I felt like it was a bit loose now after the impact. So I sealed everything and it was fine. I ran it. We didn't get a second practice because of rain. So I just ran it in qualifying and it was great. So my engine worked good in qualifying, and I ran different tires every run. The track was different every time. I'm a driver who can never really do well in qualifying at DNC. And the reason is that every time you hit the track, the conditions are different. And also, not only are the conditions different, so in the morning it's maybe cooler, the track is damp, damp to dry. Daytime it's warmer, the track is drier. The nighttime it's cold, it's dark, track is bumpier. It's every time it's different in that respect. But also, because they water the track, throughout your qualifying run, the track also changes. So with so much change going on, I'm not talented enough to just adapt quickly and hit my lines and marks and post my best laps in those kind of conditions. So I always underperform in qualifying, and then in the mains I'm, in relation to the other drivers, I'm a lot faster. You left your hat. No, I didn't. I have my hat. No name hat, I have it. So in qualifying, what happened in qualifying? I can't even remember what happened in the first one. I didn't have a good first qualifying run. Can't really remember why. Second run was good. Daytime was good. I had a decent qualifier. Times were pretty close. I was somewhere between 15 and 20 in that run. And then the last run, I just made mistakes. The car felt really good, but I made mistakes. I found new bumps, and that was that. So then we go to the B main, and I start 12th in the B main. So towards that end, towards the back. And I was actually quite confident. I felt like when the track dries out, I'll find my groove and I should be able to bump. That's what I thought before the race. And I made a couple of changes to the car which turned out to be the wrong decision. I shouldn't have made them. So I went to harder springs and harder shock oil. Now I had already changed to harder oil, and that would have been enough. I feel like I went too hard for my main. But that wasn't really the main problem. The biggest problem of what happened was I had an absolutely incredible start in the B main. So the first lap, nothing crazy happened. I was still towards the back. But then there was, you know, crazy racing going on ahead of me. And coming up to the loop and the front straight, I had a good run. So I jumped the jumps really well, had a good line, and then jumped to the inside just before the loop. And I actually managed to incredibly pass 4 cars in one corner and the front straight. So because 4 cars were battling and kind of going wide and tangling and taking each other out. So those 4 cars were kind of drifting wide, and I just went inside and got by all 4 of them. And I'm like, oh my God, if I can pull this off, then I'll be good. Like, then just settle down and finish off the race. Now what happened was disaster. At the end of the straight, that double was really hard. So the face of the double was rough. And this is where my car struggled a lot. So it didn't want to do that double clean. It didn't want to jump and just pop over the jump. So I crashed there and got collected by all the cars behind me. And it broke the carb enough to where it started leaking. So, okay, I didn't break the whole needle off this time, but it started leaking. And when it started leaking, the engine started running on. And if my engine isn't working right, I can't drive. So I just started making mistake after mistake, and then I calmed down and was like barely giving it any throttle and kind of braking around some sections. But it was pretty bad, and the only fun thing in the main was at the end trying to beat Savoia. Savoia had 3 shocks and I had a engine that was running on, and I was like, there's no way Savoia's gonna beat me. So that was the only fun thing, and I did actually get him in the end, and then he blew off the track and didn't finish. So that's it. That was my race. So very frustrating for me personally, but for JQ Racing it was actually a really good race, and here's why. There were, maybe the first time, we had so many JQ drivers there that they weren't all pitting with us. So we had 4 tents set up in the pits, and there were a lot of guys there. But we also had you know, Millington pitting with the hot race guys. We had some guys from OCRC pitting together. We had, there were some other guys, I believe from Texas, pitting somewhere else. So there were JQ cars spread out in various different camps, which is maybe even a first for us. Maybe we've had one or two guys not pit with us, but normally we're all together. But this time there were so many that wherever you went in the pits, chances are that you would see a JQ car. And that's something that we have Beach RC and Keenan to thank for, really, because they've done a great job at building up our presence all around America. And with the DNC being such a big race, a lot of people traveled to the race, and that included a lot of JQ drivers. So that was great to see. But then the even more important thing was that these drivers had good results. So in open e-buggy, we had 5 JQ cars in the main. Now, we've never had 5 cars in a DNC A main. That just hasn't happened before. And not only that, Chris Morale actually won open e-buggy. So we had 5 cars in the main, and we won the race. So that was probably the highlight of DNC. And unfortunately, like Keenan likes to say, Nitro is the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. Well, I mean, as much as it hurts to admit it, we did the best in e-buggy at this race. That really sucks, but it's the truth. Kyle Johnson. Kyle who? Kyle Johnson says I suck. I don't know who that guy is. Some no name. So anyway, that was good. Then open Nitro, Chris qualified second, finished 6th. That was a good result too. Sportsman Nitro, Dylan finished 2nd. So throughout the different classes, we had cars in the A, B, and C mains. So we were, you know, close to the top in these classes. And the good thing is that if you as a driver look at the results of the race, the A main in pro class, that's professional drivers. They'll be there pretty much regardless of what chassis they are running. Pretty much regardless of what car they run, they'll be in the A main because they're professional drivers. They're the best drivers. So if you, as a customer, want to know what car to buy so you can do well in the races, it's less important to have a guy who's winning the pro class. It's more important to have drivers who can win in the open or sportsman classes, because that's more realistic for you as a customer to look at. So if the car is able to perform on that level with, you know, hobby level drivers, it's their hobby, they pay for their equipment, they go to a race to have fun. If they can perform well, then you can do that too. That's that kind of proof of concept. And here's where the Mugen story comes in, because this is a great example of this. Because a lot of people say, oh, there's no JQ driver in the top 25 list, or there's no JQ drivers in the main, or the JQ car hasn't won any big races. Yes, and that's true. That makes sense. I understand where you're coming from. But that doesn't mean that the car isn't capable. The car is perfectly capable and has been for a number of years already to win any major race. I've handed my radio to top drivers, you know, no need to name any names, but they've driven my car, and typically, you know, even within one tank, just the first tank they do, they are able to go about 1 second faster a lap than me. Okay, then I know the lap time, and I, you know, try and match their lap time all day. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. But the point is, they pick up my car, my setup, my engine, my everything, my radio, drive it, they go faster than me. Typically, I'm 1 second slower than them with their car, so they are doing the same. They are able to do the same lap time with their own car and my car. And this has been going on for a number of years already, so I've known this. What I've been working on now is, and what I haven't always been sure of, is if we get good enough drivers to do well in open class and sportsman class, will they do well, or is a Mugen better, or is a Kyosho still better than the JQ? So that's something I haven't been 100% sure on, but now I definitely am, because regardless of skill level, driving style, if a driver is good enough to make the A, then he will with the JQ car. So I'm happy about that. So to get back to Mugen, see, this is the thing. So people say, oh, the JQ car sucks because there was no JQs in the main. Well, let's take that logic and look at Mugen. Let's pick the 3 American drivers they had at DNC. So the top 3 Mugen American drivers, they're all friends, they work together, practice together, they share information. So there was nothing that one of these drivers had that the others didn't know about. They were all able to use the same settings, same pistons, same setup. They were all prepared for this race. And what happened? So if you look at just Mayfield, Mayfield won the race. Mugen is awesome. Mugen is the best car ever, right? Okay, forget about Mayfield. Let's say he wasn't there. You look at Truey. Okay, Truey made the main. Where did he finish? Let's check where Truey finished. Actually, pet peeve. Live RC doesn't have the overall results. Can you believe that shit? I've been going on about this for years. If I want to know where I finished, I don't see it on Live RC. They only show the results of each main. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Mains. Okay, Truey finished 9th. Okay, so back to my story about Mugen. So if you look at Mayfield, okay, he won the race, he was awesome, the Mugen is the best car ever. Forget about Mayfield. Mayfield wasn't there. You look at, okay, who's the next Mugen USA driver? Okay, it's Mike Truey. He bumped from the B main and he finished 9th in the main. Well, I mean, that's decent. That's pretty average, but I mean, the car kind of needs some work. It's not really there yet. Like, it's not capable of winning, but he made the main. Okay, scratch that. Forget about Truey. He wasn't there. Who's next? Oh, that's Adam Drake. He was in the B main. So he was in the B main. He didn't bump to the main. Mugen kind of sucks. I mean, all the cars were in the main, but there was no Mugen in the main. Adam was just in the B main and he couldn't bump. So, okay, they all had the same car, same settings. The difference is the driver. The skill level, the talent of the driver. The difference between Mayfield, Truey, and Drake is their skills and talent. And maybe Truey isn't really full-time, you know, racing anymore. Maybe if he put in the work like Mayfield, maybe he would be better. Who knows? Adam puts in the work, but he can't match Mayfield. The point is, they have the same car, but one was winning the race, another was at the bottom end of the A main, and the third guy didn't make the A main. So I hope that you can see that the Mugen is a great car, perfectly capable of making the main. Their results depend on the drivers they have. And the same goes for the JQ Racing Black Edition. I was in the B main, I didn't bump. Without crashing on the first lap, without making the wrong setup choices, with my engine working perfectly, maybe I would have been in the battle to bump. You know, maybe I would have bumped, maybe I wouldn't, who knows. But if I had bumped, and if I was in the main, I would finish somewhere like 8th, 9th, 10th at best, because that's my skill level. If I had signed Mayfield, then he could have won the race, because that's how good he is. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like some people just put too much weight on the car and not enough on who's driving it. The car itself does matter. If a car isn't capable, then a top driver will make the main, but he won't be able to fight for the win. But even a car that a top driver can't win with can easily be good enough for any customer to buy it and win an open class or a sportsman class or anything like that. Okay, so that's my rant about the whole is Mugen great and JQ sucks, or does Mugen suck as bad as JQ? It just depends on what driver you look at. I think much more importantly at this race, just look at the open class and sportsman class and look at how the JQ cars performed there. There you can see if the car is good or not. There you go, being logical again. Could Mayfield make the main with Soar? I haven't tried a Soar, but I mean, looking at it, it's pretty close to all the other cars. I'm pretty sure he could. I'm pretty sure he would. I don't see, I haven't driven a Soar, so I can't say for sure, but didn't Dani Bernabe drive Soar a couple of years ago in Europe, and he was really fast? So I think the car is capable. How many Kyoshos made the main? Who runs Kyosho? Boots runs Kyosho. Boots made the main. So just one Kyosho. So we have Mugen, TR, Associated, X-Ray, Mugen, Techno, HB, Mugen, S-Works, Kyosho, S-Works, Agama, X-Ray, HB. Looks like two of most of the brands. 3 Mugens, 1 TLR, 1 Associated, 2 X-Rays, 2 Technos, 2 HBs, 2 S-Works, 1 Kyosho, 1 Agama. Yeah, so that's that. Proof is in the pudding. Time for you to sign a top tier driver, maybe he meant. Yes, I agree. So we tried to sign a driver. Yeah, I'll talk about it here instead of the podcast, because this is more relevant to JQ Racing. So we tried to sign a top driver for this year, but I think there's one really important part to signing a top name, because it's quite risky. It's a lot of money. It's going to cost you about, let's say, $40,000 to $50,000 to sign a real top guy for a year, and that includes salary and the equipment and travel. So if you're gonna spend $40,000 to $50,000 on a driver, then you need to be sure that you get a return on that. And my opinion is that if I were to get a top driver, it's not enough that they just make the main. Like, let's put it this way. If we just look at DNC now, so Agama has Ryan Lutz. Okay, he didn't qualify too well. He bumped in the main. He finished 13th, broke something. So is that a positive result for Agama? They had Ryan Lutz in the main. He finished 13th. No one's going to remember or care about that. Okay, S-Works, they signed Ryan Cavalieri. He's kind of under the radar the whole race. He does qualify direct in the main, I think. And he finishes 12th. So, okay, you know, he made the main, finished 12th. What's that going to do for S-Works? Seriously. So, you really have to be careful to where if you're spending big money on a driver, then you need the driver to get quality results. Yes, you have some benefit from them, you know, going to more sort of regional or local races and doing well there and sort of giving credibility to the brand. But we are already doing that. We're doing it a different way now. We aren't spending all that money on a guy who can make the main and finish like 5th to 15th. Instead, we are investing in supporting all the people we have running the car already, and having, you know, good enough regional local guys who are doing well in the open class, sportsman class, and even the sort of regional pro class level. And for us, that approach works much better. Then when we're able to sign someone who, yes, costs a lot of money, but is also still motivated to do well. Like if we had someone like Mayfield or Ongaro or Tessman or Ronnefalk, you know, that's someone who will be in the top 3, who will be winning the races. That's someone worth going after. So what I look for when I'm trying to sign someone is how badly do they want it. I'm not going to sign someone who just signs for the money, for an easy paycheck, or someone who I can sense doesn't have the motivation or the drive to put in the work. Like, they don't want to, yeah, I'm gonna sign with JQ and prove everyone wrong. Like, I'm gonna do the work and I'm gonna win. Like, if I can't see that in them, then I'm not willing to pay the money. Like, I kind of back away at that point. So if it's just a case of, yeah, this would be cool and it's kind of easy money and I'll go to the races and do what I can, I'm not going to go for that, because that's a 12th place. That's a 13th place. And I've already got that. I've made, with my own car, I've made the DNC main, Silver State main, Neo Buggy main, European Championship main. One year I finished in 6th place at Neo in e-buggy and nitro, right? So I can get those kind of results myself. And that already proves that the car is capable. Okay, you can make the main and finish 7th, great. But can you beat Mayfield? That's what JQ Racing needs. And you aren't gonna get that if you sign a guy who's expensive and has good results in the past, but isn't in a position where they are motivated and hungry and eager to still win. So yeah, and I think you can see that already in this race, and you're gonna see it throughout the year. Would you prefer a top driver or a guy willing to put in the work from the middle? And actually I would prefer a guy willing to put in the work from the middle. Someone that has the potential to be a top driver, who I can see that they have the potential to be a really top driver with the right support, a couple of more years of work, and they'll be there. I would much rather support someone like that. But see, here's the problem. This is kind of similar to that Mugen JQ problem, where Mugen is winning races with Mayfield, so Mugen's a great car. JQ is blowing out in the B main, so JQ sucks. While at the same time, you have Adam Drake in the B main with a Mugen, and he didn't make the main, right? Or you have Mike Truey in the B main, and he bumped and finished 9th. Now, I have done that in the past, and I am capable of doing that. I can be in the B main, I can bump and finish 9th. Adam Drake can be in the B main, bump and finish 9th. But we can't go to DNC, dominate and win. We can't do that. So it's like, some people look at Mugen, or well, all people look at Mugen because of Mayfield. Like, he's winning, the car is awesome. And this is the problem that JQ Racing has. So that middle guy, so who's like a middle guy, like a Evan Vale type of guy, or I don't know, like he's just someone Keenan spoke about, I remember, or like a Cole Ogden from a few years ago, or maybe even Cole Ogden now, or like a Marco Baruffolo. So all these guys have shown that they're capable. They aren't Mayfield, but maybe they can be Mayfield in the future. Now, a guy like that would be interesting to sign and to work with them and help them with their setup and approach to racing, and work with them on improving their racecraft and their skills to the point where they can win these races. But they don't have the confidence in the JQ car or in themselves that they can take the JQ car and win. And they don't have that confidence because they haven't seen it done before. So it takes someone special to look at the JQ car, maybe try it for themselves, and then think, I can do this with this car. I'm going to sign with JQ Racing and be their #1 driver and work closely with them, and I'm going to become Mayfield. Like, there's this like fanboyism. It's rare to find a champion, mid-level guy who is a champion at mind already and a future champion in racing. Most of the time these guys are like looking at the established brands and kind of following someone who has already done it. When actually, even for them, a much better deal would be go to somewhere like, you know, in a sense now, Canas with S-Works. S-Works didn't really have a guy, now he is the guy. He was at Mugen with Robert, and I mean, the safer way for him, for sure, would be to stay with Mugen and develop as a driver and kind of replace Robert at some point. But he didn't, he chose to do it differently. And I mean, at the time I said, I think it's a mistake, but in a way, you have to respect that because he is now the #1 driver for S-Works. So they are putting a lot of effort behind him, and he is a champion, not a fanboy. Do you see what I mean? Like, S-Works hasn't won the big races, but he believes he can do it with S-Works. So he went to S-Works, he's working hard, and he's doing really well. So yeah, I would prefer to sign someone who's a future champion, not a past champion, who has the hunger and the work ethic to win. But it's hard to do because most young drivers that are very good, they need someone to prove that it's possible with a car. They pick Mugen because Mugen has won. They pick Kyosho because Kyosho has won. They pick CJ Jelin. That's another good example, actually. He's a great driver. He would be someone great to sign. Okay, he went to Kyosho. I mean, it makes sense. Kyosho has won many championships. And yeah, well, he didn't have a good DNC, but maybe he'll make a bit of a comeback in the coming races. But yeah, I'm sure you got my point by now. Wait, does that mean I get a paycheck, says Keaton? I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Okay, catching up here. Say what you will, Lutz have a huge return on investment. Well, not as huge as if he won DNC. I mean, you can sign Lutz and yeah, you'll have sales and whatever regional races he goes to, that's good. I mean, maybe it offsets what you're paying him. But if you want people in Bolivia and Brazil and South Africa and Malaysia and everywhere, like worldwide, if you want people to just have no contact with Lutz, just buy an Agama because of Lutz, the way you do that is have Lutz win DNC. Have him podium DNC, win Silver State, or like he needs to be on the podium at these races. Then you'll get that kind of return. So, I mean, yes, the return on investment, maybe you break even, but you aren't supposed to just break even. You're supposed to make money. Rivkin, what about Rivkin? He was in the B-Main Blues. Okay, catching up with comments here. Do you have any questions now? I can't remember what else I was supposed to talk to about DNC. So I ran the, I have questions on Facebook too, I'll go through. I ran the associated truck, and actually this was the first time in truck I actually enjoyed it a lot. The layout was good for truck, I thought. And I got a new one for this race. I actually worked on it a bit and it was performing well. So I was happy about that. And actually, I think where was I? I had some pretty terrible qualifying also. I was in the C main, I think. Yeah, C main. And I believe I could have bumped because I got into a nice groove and was doing very consistent laps and catching the guys ahead of me. But then I had the strangest problem. So I lost control, no steering, no throttle, but the transponder light was blinking. So there was power going to the transponder, but I didn't have any control. It was really strange. The battery was plugged in, the battery worked, everything was working. So it's almost like it was a receiver problem. It was a new receiver too, so maybe it was bad from the start. Strange issue. So that was a real shame. Move on, what's the DNC gossip? I don't really have much gossip from DNC. I mean, the Reds Mayfield situation, let's say they aren't best friends at the moment. But I mean, I guess everyone knew that. There was, there was some gyro talk again. We can cover it more extensively on the podcasts. I mean, there were people saying that Ongaro has an electrical engineer with him at the races and all kinds of crazy stuff. And there was like video conspiracies, like video of Ongaro in qualifying, how his car would do something unnatural, or like just go straight and then turn, or like go over a single and kind of the track is going left but the car would veer right and then go left, like all kinds of conspiracy theories about gyros. Now I don't think that any of those top guys use gyros. They're just really good drivers. And like I posted on I think Facebook, someone asked, how do you know if someone's using a gyro? In my opinion, you know that by the fact that they're European and they beat Tessman or an American. So if a European guy beats Tessman or an American top guy, especially in America, then they must be using a gyro. Okay, Ronne Falk, he's past that. He's a world champion, you know, he's good. We know that. Robert also, so they aren't using, but anyone else, like anyone these guys have never heard of, like a Barufalo or Joao or any of these guys, if they do well, then they must be using a gyro. It can't be that they are just motivated and practice and test a lot and they're dialed in and they go and just punch it and don't give a shit, and that they are champions, not fanboys. It can't be that. They must be cheating. $50K is overpaying. $50K is not the salary, it's the travel and all the free stuff you give them too. So it's not overpaying, it's just reality. Do you think Lutz will sweep like he normally does at Psycho with Argamas? Well, I mean, I don't know who's going, but those are the races where they get a return on their investment. He has to do it. Like, he has to be on the podium in every class and win some, and then it makes sense. The Clip, would he make a good driver for any team besides JQ? Do you mean E-Clip? If you do, then I don't think E-Clip would make a very good driver for anyone, to be honest. Unfortunately, he's just too nutty. Please discuss RCGP if you can. Okay, we can talk a bit about RCGP, but maybe I'll do a separate Facebook Live about that. What do you want to know about RCGP? Okay, let's talk shit on the RC Top 25 and to get David Gibson all mad at me. He seems to like that. Would you like to talk about the RC Top 25 and RCGP? And someone comment about that. I can get into that. About turning someone's radio off, I was actually practicing turning a radio off without looking. I can't remember who it was. Next, maybe even CJ. I don't remember who it was, but it was like in warm-up, like reaching over and turning the radio off without looking. Yeah. Do you have 20 of the same shirt, or do you not wash that one? Well, my last Facebook Live was, I don't know, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, so yeah, it's not too crazy to imagine that I have the same shirt on. I had to laugh at the fact you were disappointed that you had to drive your e-buggy again. Yeah, I qualified in the C main in e-buggy, and then unfortunately I bumped. So, I mean, Anthony Westergaard, God bless him, he tries hard, but I mean, he just can't beat me heads up racing. And I know his son Mason is kind of supporting me more than him nowadays. So I did this for Mason, you know. I needed to get the bump, and Anthony was there, so I'm sorry, Anthony, you didn't bump up. I had to do that. I had to get the last bump up spot, and that's what I did. And then e-buggy, B main, I can't remember what happened. I was probably just too slow to bump. Oh, I remember, I was racing Rivkin for the longest time. I'm like, what are you doing, Spencer? You're a world champion. Why are you racing me in the e-buggy B main? And then towards the very end, I had this big mistake, and he beat me. I wasn't happy about that. What are your thoughts on the hot race setup at DNC and the overall presence of hot race? So hot race is breaking into the American market, and the hot race guy is very similar to me in the fact that he's doing his own thing. He started his own company. One difference to me is that his dad is involved. You know, his dad has been, I think, involved since the beginning. He did his own thing. He started it himself, done his own thing, but he has the support of his father, and his father's working with him now. Not saying that to take anything away from him. It's impressive what he's doing, and he's making the tires in Italy. And he has some friend contact in, I think Pirelli, I can't remember, one of the tire manufacturers there in Italy. And yeah, he has crazy ideas for the future of tires. I can't wait to see what he does. I've tried the tires too. They are really good. I found that the hot race tires have a lot of forward bite. Like, they just accelerate really well and the car goes straight. That was something I noticed when I tried them. They have a lot of grip in the rubber, and they don't last as well as some others. So what they need to work on is the durability of their compounds. But the grip and performance is good. Fend beat Ongaro. Yeah, we'll talk more in detail about all these things, like all the drivers and cars, on the No Name podcast. I'll save it for that. But I can say about Ongaro, he picked the wrong tire. He went out on soft double down, and it was way too loose. I mean, his car was so loose that right there when... Actually, it was crazy to watch him. The talent and skill required to go that fast with such a loose car is just amazing. I think it got looser towards the end of the race too. So right when Fend got by him, what happened was the back double, you would either go inside or outside. Fend got by, he was on the inside, Ongaro was on the outside, and they were lapping Mayfield, or like unlapping themselves from Mayfield. And Mayfield kind of just didn't want to have anything to do with their battle. So he pulled right to the outside to get out of the way, but that's exactly where Ongaro was going. So Ongaro hit Mayfield, and then he was in the dust, and when he tried to go, he just did a donut. It was crazy. Like, he just tried to like go, accelerate from a standstill, and the car did a donut. Like, he did 2 donuts and then managed to continue. It was crazy to see. I mean, his car was mega loose. It was crazy. No, like, very little toe in, and then the double downs are loose already, and then to run them in soft compound, yeah, that was not the right choice. Make the Facebook Lives a regular thing again. I can try. I mean, I've been super busy. For those of you who don't know, I moved to the Philippines, I think in September. And I've been hard at work here. Not just RCGP stuff, also JQ Racing, JQ Threads, everything that's been going on. Just, you know, a lot of work. there was one time when I didn't leave the apartment for 2 weeks. I believe about 2 weeks. It was crazy. Because you can have everything delivered here. All your food, everything delivered. You send your laundry out, it gets returned. Like, you don't need to leave the apartment, right? And I didn't. Then when I left, I was going to the truck. I'm like, holy shit, I haven't left the apartment in a long time. That's crazy. I think it affects your mind somehow when you don't go out. But yeah, I've been busy. I don't know. I should probably try and do weekly Facebook Lives. Talk about, you know, I should support all the JQ customers we have and make Keenan happy. When are you coming back to America? For the RCGP, the last RCGP is going to be in America. We're trying to host it alongside a motocross event, one of the many motocross events in Southern California at that time of year, like October, November. So that's the goal. Max is going to PMB and Degani too. Talk about the Ryan Mayfield and Ty handshake. Yeah, so after the race, there was a video of Mayfield kind of just ignoring Ty and pushing his hand away. And at first I didn't think anything of it. Then I watched the video closer and you can see just Mayfield like hitting Ty's hand away, and Ty's like surprised almost, and then stays there and offers his hand again, but Mayfield doesn't shake it and says something. Like Ty says, good job, or good race, man, or something like that. And I don't know what Mayfield said. So it definitely looked like there was something there. Like, what happened? Like, why is that? But, I mean, I spoke to Mayfield and he just said, he said that he didn't even realize. Like, if there was nothing intentional going on there. He wasn't intentionally not acknowledging Ty. So, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he said. So he said there's nothing to it. There was something else. Oh yeah, the whole RC Top 25 thing. Okay, so first I have to defend them a bit, and then I have to bag on them a bit. So the RC Top 25, it's a ranking list. Just because someone won DNC doesn't mean they should be first, and just because someone got 5th at DNC doesn't mean that they can't be first. That's not how the list works. The list is based on a number of races over 2 years. So it has to do with who has performed the best for an extended period of time. So even if Mayfield wins the next 2 races and say Ongaro finishes like 5th and 3rd, it doesn't mean that Mayfield should be first on the list. It could be that Ongaro is first and Mayfield is 3rd. Like, that's just how the list works. People are too short-sighted. They're only looking at the last race and that should be the ranking. That's not how rankings work. So there's that. I need to defend them a bit here. People don't understand the point. It's a ranking. Okay, and another thing I have to say in their defense is that it's really hard to make a ranking like this because the top drivers race against each other so seldom. So however you do it, it's not going to seem very fair necessarily because it's just impossible to do an accurate ranking when the drivers race against each other so rarely. Okay, but here comes the part where I need to complain a bit and bag on them. I don't agree with how they choose the races, how they pick the races. There was the case last year of the Philippine Masters having an equal level, I'd say, of racer, and then the World's warm-up the week after or so. Again, equal level of drivers, and most of those drivers were the same drivers. Okay, there were a few different, but many of them were the same. All drivers who make A mains, all drivers who have been on the list. But the Philippine Masters race didn't count, and the World's warm-up did. And at that point, I'm like, how did they do that? Like, how is it that the Philippine Masters, I mean, there was Robert, Ronnefalk, Ongaro, McBride, Stringer, all 5 of those like World's A-Main drivers. I was there. I've been on the list too. I can't remember who else. So that's already 6. And then the world's warm-up had basically the same guys. So then I, started looking at the races that they count and don't count, and it just, if you base it on how many drivers from the list are at a race and then that's how it counts, then if you start a list like that in Europe and the first race you count is Montpellier and the second race you count is the Euros warm-up, the list is going to be populated by European drivers, okay? So then you go DNC or whatever, and you get some Americans on the list, but it's still going to be heavily favored by, like, let's say 15 to 25 will be a lot of European drivers who are good. So it's easier for a European race to make it onto the list. So maybe the Big to Design contest will be a race that's counted. That's like a sick cross in America or some PMB, for example, or something like that. Like at the PMB, it's pretty easy to just make the main and finish 7th. Like, you can pretty much do it any day of the week. So the fact that it started in America, I feel, favors American races. There's more of those easy to make the main races that count for the list in America. That's why when you look at the list, there's so many Americans from like 15 downwards. And that's kind of my problem with the list. I think there needs to be a better way of picking the races that count. And I think this will become apparent. This will become extremely apparent due to RCGP. If they count the RCGP races. Now, let's say that RCGP has 15 drivers. So everyone is in the main. It's just one heat. Okay, you have qualifying, then you have main events. And their system of picking a race is based on how many of the drivers on the list are at the event. So let's say RCGP fulfills that criteria. Then every single RCGP race, everyone's already in the main. So no matter what the level of the driver is, if he finishes 7th, it counts for RC Top 25. So all the RCGP races will count. It's the same drivers, the same good drivers, they'll all count. For the lower level driver in RCGP, they'll get, in a sense, an inflated amount of points for the Top 25 thing. So actually, RCGP is going to force Top 25 RC to have a second look at the way they select their races. And I think that's a good thing. So I hope they can kind of think of maybe some sort of update to how they pick the races that count. And also, the top 25 thing is a ranking system. I remember people in the beginning saying like, RCGP will somehow solve the top 25 ranking problem. Like, no, it won't. It's a whole different thing. It's not a rank. RCGP is a racing series, not a ranking system. So only the drivers who compete in the series will be ranked. Every year they'll be ranked because they do all the races and they get points. The RC Top 25 looks at all the big races and all the drivers and ranks them. It's a completely different thing. So yeah, I don't know. Is Cody King still beating you on the list? He might be. He hasn't raced for like a year and a half or 2 years, but he's probably still beating me. Not enough USA drivers go overseas, son. USA has 3/4 of the best drivers still and always will. No, they don't. I mean, America has maybe half, maximum half. We can look at the world's results. Australia is a pretty neutral place. I mean, okay, not even all the best Europeans went there, but I guess maybe not all the best Americans went there either. Let's see, IFMAR Live RC prove it. Prove it, come to PMB. Well, just check the last time I went to PMB. I'm not going this year. I don't need to prove shit to you, Keenan. Why are there so many top racers not signed up for RCGP yet? Because the racers don't sign up, it's the manufacturers that do. And it's very hard to convince people to try something new. Some people say, oh, it's because it's JQ. It really isn't. I mean, a few years ago, Live RC, Red RC, A-Main, and the organizers from Vasa Worlds in 10 scale, which is pretty much seen as the best worlds ever by many people in the industry, drivers and manufacturers. Those together, so I'll repeat. A-Main, biggest web shop, popular web shop, everyone knows them. Red RC, popular news website, no one hates them. Live RC, the results service. I mean, so many people use it. Popular, again. The organizer of maybe the best worlds ever. They were working together for like 2 years behind the scenes, trying to put together a series like this. Didn't happen, nothing happened. You know why? Because no manufacturers joined. So the people that everyone hates, JQ, the person that's bad for RC, we're actually gonna have a race, even though everyone hates me and it's a terrible situation to have. I mean, it's not about who does it. It's just when you try to do something new, it's hard to get people to join. People don't want to change. People complain a lot, but if you offer a solution, but the solution involves changing what you're doing now, it's going to be hard to do. It's going to be hard to convince people to change. So yeah, I think if RCGP is going to work, if we get more manufacturers to sign, it's going to take about 2 years. The first year, we have to get through it somehow financially. Second year, we should have more sponsors and a couple of more teams, hopefully. And second year should be good. But then the third year is when everything should work and we also get most of the top brands and top drivers in it. So that's how I see it. And the RC2 class is not for top drivers. Like if you're a pro driver, you can't race the RC2. If you make the main at the Worlds, Euros or Raw Nationals, you can't race the RC2. The longer you race, Ryan Millington reminded me of the best quotes of the race. So, okay, I didn't say this, okay? And I'm not gonna say who said this, because it's kind of a rude quote. And it kind of has to do with the DNC organizers. So Joey's kind of attitude according to this person. So this was sometime in qualifying, you know, so cut practice, we don't get a warm-up, there's only like one lap and then you start, so no warm-ups, no second round of nitro practice, no track time. Basically it's like, for fuck's sake, we spend all this time and money and can't even get on the track. That was kind of the feeling. And this guy said, you know what, I got all your money already, so now you can all go fuck yourselves. That was kind of the vibe. So I just laughed at that quote. Like that was a very, yes, super rude quote, but at that moment in time, I felt like there was some truth to it. So kind of, okay, the race hasn't even happened yet, but we kind of got what we wanted. Okay, so that was one quote. Then another quote was, the longer you race 10 scale, the longer you stay a virgin. That's something that was discussed. And then there was another quote. What was it? Who remembers what that quote was? Yeah, Scotty Ernst is doing the announcing for RCGP. Will you ever come to Texas and race our Indy RC World Icebreaker event? I very much doubt it. That's the indoor race there. I don't think so. I'm trying to find the World's results. How do I find them? More BC. Joey is all about the money, yeah. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. You know, I was pretty mad. I sponsored the race. So, okay, let's talk about the JQ takeover for a minute. So, last year I got disqualified. I don't care what anyone says about the radio incident. That's not why I was disqualified. I got disqualified because I put hashtag JQ takeover stickers and very hard to remove stickers, which wasn't planned. I mean, Joy thought that was like a big plan. No, this guy just made them. Atherton, Mr. Atherton made them, and they just happen to be these vinyl stickers where each letter is separate, so it's kind of hard to remove. So I put one of those on the backdrop, the podium backdrop, you know, guerrilla marketing. I thought it was funny. I put them on the champagne bottles. I mean, they were everywhere, not just me putting them, but people put them everywhere. So it was like a hashtag JQ takeover campaign. And that's what really pissed Joey off. And then what happened was Friday night or Saturday night, Friday night I think, he told me like, don't put any stickers on my shit. Like, don't put stickers on the podium backdrop or bottles or whatever. And I did. Like later on I put another sticker up there. And he got really mad about that. And that's why he disqualified me. The radio incident was just a nice excuse, you know. It was like validation, like, yeah, now I can like disqualify this guy. So that's what happened. And then I thought, okay, so this year I need to do the takeover again and bigger. So I asked Joey, I contacted him first of all just to check, like, am I even allowed to go to the race? And I was, and then I asked about sponsorship. So what are your sponsorship levels? I got the information and I decided to do it. And big thanks to some of our drivers, Tony Scarcella, Cody Walker. I'm sorry if there were others, I can't remember off the top of my head, who pitched in to pay for the sponsorship. So that was really cool of you. I appreciate that. So we got banners made and hashtag JQ takeover, of course. I asked Joey how many banners I could have, and he told me the amount, and that's how many I made. And then like the first 2 days, they only hung like 12 of them. They didn't even put all the banners up. I had to complain about that. I was very mad about that. So finally we got all the banners up on the third or fourth day. So then we had banners up everywhere, but yeah, I was pretty disappointed at that. Like, if you're gonna have a certain amount of banners, you shouldn't be like begging for them to be put up. They should all be up already. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They didn't put the banners up, like they weren't even announcing hashtag JQ takeover. They only announced it like maybe once. When I complained about it, I said, hey, look, like, you were supposed to announce this, and you aren't supposed to announce JQ Racing, you're supposed to announce hashtag JQ takeover. So yeah, safe to say that we're not going to sponsor that race again. We're going to go there, yeah, probably, but yeah, not gonna sponsor it. Not worth it. But the banners got put up. It was a legit takeover this time. They tried to get away with printing JQ Racing on the podium backdrop. Wasn't having any of that. Cut up 2 banners, stapled them on the JQ Racing, so we have the takeover there on the podium backdrop. So yeah. I heard every sponsor announced except JQ. There you go, there you go. See, you try and do it the legit way and you get hosed. It's just how it is. Okay, so any other questions, or are we done here? Like I said, I'll do a more in-depth kind of analysis of the race and the drivers and the cars and that sort of stuff on the Lefties podcast. So we're gonna that's gonna be out within 36 hours, I believe. So yeah. When we're done with this, I'm gonna get back to my fucking 35,000 word document about Oh, that's it. About 1/8 buggy setup. Someone had an idea for the name. So it's just been the guide, right? Someone came to me at the race and said they have an idea for the name. And I should call it the Bible. And I think I'm actually going to go with it. This is like the new Bible. RC Bible. The Bible. It's going to be you basically, all those patrons are going to get the Bible. I'm gonna post today. I'm gonna post a bit of a teaser on my Patreon. So for all the patrons, you can read some parts of the new Bible. I think I'll keep doing that. So as I get some sections done, I'm gonna share them on there and kind of get feedback. Just see what you think. Greg Degani wants to up his purse bonus to 2 quesadillas. Actually, his bonus is donuts, but there was no donut shop there, and we just settled for some Mexican food. But just this time, normally it's Krispy Kreme donuts. Scotty should run the RCGP and it will get more industry leaders involved. No, it won't, Stephen. That's not how it works. Anything you want to do, if it's different, it's going to be hard to do. Why don't you think Scotty has? Why hasn't Scotty already done this? He has a few races that he's run for many years. He said himself it always takes a few years to make something work. That's what he does. He announces for races that are not his, and he's involved in EOS, ETS, all those Euro series, doing the announcing for them. You know, it's not easy. It doesn't matter who you are. Doorbell's ringing. What the hell? The Bible. Yeah, and Scotty is involved. The Bible. No, it's gonna. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be something. Something along the lines of the Bible. I think it's something good. No pizza. That was just some delivery. New sex swing for the secret room. Okay, are we done? There's still over 100 people here. I don't know why. Did we cover everything? Oh, I completely forgot. I'm so stupid. There were all kinds of questions on Facebook. I'm just going to quickly answer all the questions on Facebook. Okay, let's see. What's the rumor about you and Captain Club Race making up? Okay, I didn't hear this rumor, but it's actually kind of, there's some truth to this because he spoke to me. Now, Adam has been ghosting me for the longest time. I'll be like, hey, what's up? And he'll just like ghost me, just walk by me like I don't exist. And it's really demoralizing. And I'm very sad about that. But then this race, he actually spoke to me. Like, he walked by the tent and Degani was yelling something about, hey, isn't it bullshit we don't get any warm up? Like, we should at least get 2 minutes warm up, you know? And then I said something like, yeah, then we could like actually tune the engines and stuff if we need it. And he actually talked to me. He said, learn to tune. So he said to me, learn to tune. And it was like the olive branch, you know, like he said learn to tune, but I heard him say like, let's be friends again, you know. That really made my day. I decided I'd just leave it at that. Like maybe next race we can take the next step. But I think that was pretty good. And as for Mayfield, I think a lot of people think that there's bad blood between me and Mayfield, and there really isn't. Like, yes, he did kind of throw me under the bus at the Worlds and with what he said, but I mean, we spoke pretty quickly after that on WhatsApp. We messaged each other once in a while. We spoke at the race. Like, there's no problem there. Like, I don't have any problem with him. I don't think he has a problem with me either. Like, he was just, you know, a couple of beers deep and pissed off because he didn't win the Worlds, and Adam is his friend, and then he kind of spouted off at the Worlds. That's all there's to it. Yeah, so that's all good. So the relationship to Adam is, I would say, better than it's been in the last few years, and there's no issues with Mayfield. That's all good. Okay, next question. Tell us about tower changes, please. Okay, so I made these new shock towers. People thought they were like the old associated cars with super lay down front shocks. They aren't really, because I mount the shocks to the arm. There's no riser, so it's different. And the reason they are that way is that I was running the rear shocks, so the complete rear shock absorber also on the front. It's just something I wanted to try. It has to do with the position of the piston in the shock body and the amount of oil in the shock body, and how much the oil or how much the shaft moving into the shock body increases the pressure in the shock. So I wanted to try the rear shocks in the front, and I made those towers. And I would say that they were awesome. They were just really, really good on the practice days, and also the first days and in e-buggy. But then the last day, when the track got really rough, our setup wasn't quite right. Like I said, I went to thicker oil. It was too thick. Harder springs, they were too hard. Also, I made the towers to have very little up travel, so it just wasn't enough, I thought. So most tracks, they're gonna be awesome. And I actually made sets, so I think Beach RC should have them now when Keenan gets there. So next week we'll be shipping out these new towers to all the 100 guys on Patreon. And then I know I owe the 100 guys a bunch of parts, and it's because these fucking village idiots in China, you know, I've been waiting for these parts forever. It's been so long, it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I had to fly over there and beat someone up or what. Like, I take one for the team and be arrested in China. I don't know, but it's really frustrating. So I have like new CVDs, new rear hub with slightly different geometry. Like, there's all kinds of new carbon bits. Like, there's a bunch of new stuff that I want to send to the 100 guys and then later on release for sale. But it's just that they aren't ready. It's always like, oh, next week or next month. It's like the JQ Threads web shop. You know, it's just this never-ending story. So I owe the 100 guys a lot. I hope that getting these towers and getting to test with the rear shocks in the front will keep you occupied for a bit. And then next month, we will definitely get those missing parts sent to you. And then you're all up to date. And the 100 thing, we won't be sending parts monthly. We're sending parts 4 times a year. So every 3 months, we'll send you parts. I think that's something we can keep up with. And I want the parts to be something special. So I don't just want to send you, you know, spare parts or something you could just buy. I want to send you shit you can't buy. Like these towers, you can't buy them. You can't get them anywhere. These are parts that you can try and give me feedback. The people who tried them at DNC really liked them and thought they improved the car. So that's a good thing. So these are the sorts of things you can get. And then based on that feedback and based on those parts, we make some modifications and then we release them to the public. Or maybe we don't. Some things we just make and then we just never produce them. So it's just something nice that you'll have and you'll try, but then your normal customer is never going to get them. So yeah, there's that. Will those towers fit my Mugen? Of course they won't. Peter, I don't know why you insist on running the Mugen. Didn't I already explain to you that just because Mayfield wins, and you don't need to be like, you don't need to be such a fanboy. Like, instead of looking at Mayfield winning, just look at Adam bowing out in the B main with me. I mean, we're basically the same sort of level, so you don't need to stick with Mugen. You could just switch to JQ and the towers will fit the JQ. How do you know if you're on the 100 club? You know that by going on Patreon and signing up for the 100. You pay $35 a month and that's it. It's pretty simple. If you need to beat someone up, then let me know. I can come over to help. Yes, I know that because you also have an order in you need shipped pretty soon. Let's make sure they ship it today. The real question is, will your Mugen fit the new towers? Exactly. That's the way we ask that. Yeah, Peter Griffin, Family Guy. Is it true that Mugen has a really rough drivetrain? I don't know. I don't have a Mugen. I'm sure the drivetrain is just fine. Okay, next question. Will you attend Silver State? No, I won't. I'll be at the RCGP. When is the signing of the Pro Driver? We kind of covered that earlier. So we'll try, we'll see what we can do next year. There's suitable options available. What setup changes did you make for the blown out track? Okay, and what truggy did you run? So I ran the associated truggy, we covered that. The setup changes I made, I went thinner on my center diff oil. So instead of 15, I went to 10. The thinner center diff oil made it easier to accelerate in the bumps. And I didn't make too many setup changes. I tried a lot of different tires. So I ran Pro Circuits in daytime and they were really good. The Pro Circuit tire is a really hard plasticky kind of rubber. And they are really good in sort of daytime dry conditions. So I like them. Nighttime I ran J Concepts, Green Compound, they were really good. Then I had some other kind of Chinese tires I was testing and they were good too. So yeah, I ran all kinds of tires at that race. Mainly small pin, like a triple D and a whole shot looking tire. Yeah. What else? Next question. When you go to a new track where track time is limited, how do the pros get up to speed so quickly? Talent, experience, all of the above. I think all of the above. So the talented guys can definitely pick up new tracks faster and be consistent faster. They adapt faster. I'm not very talented, but I have a lot of experience and I have a very good setup that will work well and predictably on any track. So I tend to be really good in the first practice runs compared to other people. So normally in practice I'll be pretty fast. I don't know how exactly. It's like if you drive enough and you've driven enough on different tracks, you are in full control of your car. You know what to expect. So a new layout is easy to learn. It's just, okay, you turn left, you turn right, you pick this line. You always know what the car will do, so there's no surprises. You do a couple of laps and then you kind of figured it out. Then you just go. If your car setup isn't good, or if you don't practice a lot, drive a lot, then you won't have that feeling with the car. So going to a new track will be a lot harder because you don't know what to expect. The car will react in a strange or different way. So you aren't just getting used to the layout, you're also getting used to the car. So you need to eliminate getting used to the car. You need to be confident with the car and have a good setup. and then you are only learning the track, you aren't learning the car. Does that make sense? TLR meltdown, I didn't hear anything, but with Barry Baker on the team, I'm sure that something happened. Usually if Barry Baker is involved, there's some drama. Modelo or Peroni? Peroni. I don't know, both are good. Maybe Modelo, actually. I like Modelo. Besides driving better, what do you feel you could have done to make the A with the Stack Pro Nitro class? Well, definitely not brake on the third lap. So crashing, getting collected, having the carbs start leaking all over the place, engine running on. That was not a good idea. Thicker shock oil, harder springs also made the car worse. So yeah, I shouldn't have changed the setup, and I should not have crashed and got collected and had a carb leak. Are the efforts of the team here in America helping with the acceptance of JQ as brand in the States, despite you still trying to piss people off? Yes, I think so. I don't try to piss people off, really. I just think it's fun. Sorry, Keenan. And it's not really attempting to piss people off. It's more so attempting to get people to think. And the fact that people get pissed off when they have to think, I think it says a lot about them. How was your reception this year? Less haters? I've never had haters really, you know, yeah, edit that. I've never had haters. No, I've never had haters face to face. Like in real life, it doesn't really happen. They're all online. They're like keyboard heroes. Bunch of virgins. So nothing really face to face. So I can't really judge off of that. I didn't hear much backlash from banners. Money wasted. I don't know. We covered kind of when tried to do it the legal way and kind of was screwed. We did get the banners up, but only because I demanded it. We didn't really get announcements, even though they were supposed to announce, but well, we got a few. So I don't know. I mean, if you were there, you definitely saw the banners. Yeah, I think it was still okay. Between Lefty and Degani, how was the buffet bill? Well, we don't cover the buffet bill, and we were camping at the track, so it was good. We went to Walmart once and had enough for the week. When will kits come in a bigger box? My decals are all folded up, or smaller decal sheet maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen. Have you know the Chinese? Have they messed up the decal sheet now? I mean, what's next? I can't wait. Where's the nearest disco? Do you mean here in the Philippines, or what are you talking about? It's still over 100 people, so we'll keep going with these questions. When are you going to clean up your friends list so team drivers can be your friends? I don't know. I'm not going to clean it up. I delete people once in a while, you know, and also people just disappear. So just keep a lookout on my friend account, and when there's less than 5,000, then send me a request and a message, and I'll add you. That's another thing. So people are saying that I'm addicted to social media. I'm definitely not. See, addiction is something you do when you don't really want to. Like, you have to do it. I don't have to do social media thing. I fucking hate the social media thing. I'd much rather just live in the real world. I would log off Facebook and get out of that shit. Instagram and Facebook and all that crap. I'll get rid of that shit. But you know what? I can't. Because I do so much business on Facebook. Like, it's really important for messaging people and all that crap. And even these Facebook Lives, people seem to enjoy this. So it's not that I'm addicted. I just kind of have to be on here for now. Like, at some point, I hope I can just quit. Keenan can take over a lot of crap, and other people, Max, and well, the JQ Racing thing can be kind of completely independent from me. I can just be like Kanai, you know. I can just go to the track and develop the car, and that's it. That would be heaven for me. Forget about all this social media bullshit. So yeah, I'm definitely not addicted, Keenan. You're so wrong about that. What's your take on Trinity Motor being banned? You know, my take is I really don't give a shit. DNC needs some improvements. Ban the stalls, numbered driver spaces on the driver stand, no paid marshals at a cone. I mean, DNC is just a huge shit show. The only reason DNC is a great race is because all the best drivers go there, and Joey builds a good track. I mean, there's nothing else to it, really. Seriously, like, the best drivers go, the track is good. End of story. I mean, it is what it is. Like, you get what you deserve. RC racers get what they deserve. People complaining like, well, why aren't we on TV, or why don't we have this, or why isn't there more money in the industry? Well, maybe you get what you deserve. Maybe you don't deserve nice things. Maybe that's the case. Maybe you don't deserve a time schedule. Maybe you don't deserve a good cleaning station for your car. Maybe you don't deserve these things. You know, maybe you deserve to show up at 7 a.m. and leave at 11 p.m. Maybe that's what you deserve. Maybe you have to pay $300 and race 3 classes, you know, just to get some track time. Maybe that's what you deserve. Maybe you have to take a week off work to go to the race. Maybe that's what you deserve. JQ, I think you're dating my cousin. What? I don't know, Roger. Got no idea. Does one Chinese manufacturer make all the parts and kits for each company? No, there's like 50 different manufacturers make my car. There's a company does anodizing, another company machines certain parts, another company machines other parts, another company makes molds, another company molds the plastics using those molds that the other company made. Yeah, there's so many companies involved. Some of the machine shops are very specialized in certain things, and they make, for example, the majority of the car's diff parts, or like gears and all that stuff. Like, maybe there's one vendor in Taiwan that they make for a whole host of the brands. You people just don't know about it. Open a track in Cebu and call it the Church of RC, of JQ. Yeah. Well, I'm working on the Bible already. Will there be a 2019 team shirt for this season? Yes, there will. Thanks to RCGP, we are going to make official RCGP merchandise. And also we're going to make RC2 shirts. So the people who want to race RC2, we're going to make some cool team shirts for them too. Sell the business to infinity. If only it was that easy. What is in your fridge? Some basic food. Some dead bodies. This is why we can't have nice things. You got a gift at DNC too. I go, what gift? What did I get? How much? The sponsorship was like $1,000, like 1,200, I think it was. And then a bunch of people supported that too, and I got some entries, so it wasn't actually that much when you think about it, because of the entries and drivers supporting. What pro is the biggest crybaby on the driver's stand? That's a good question. On the driver's stand, I don't know, but I mean, it has to be one of the Italians, like Barufalo, Sanchetin, maybe even Robert. They always cry on the driver's stand, yelling and going nuts. JQ, rate the cars from best to worst. I wish I could do that. Why do you do stupid stripes on the towers and chassis? I don't think they're stupid, Peter. I think you're stupid. Just get a JQ already. Exactly. Lefty said we can see your nips. You can see my nipples? Really? Wasn't one of